I'd like to call to order the June 5, 2012 meeting of the Buncombe County Commission, and if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I will lead the invocation today. Let's pray. Thank you for the opportunity to serve as a county commissioner. We don't have all the answers, and pray that you open our ears to all the concerns, lift our awareness to the suffering and injustices, sharpen our vision to see how we can help people that are less fortunate than us. We are so fortunate and lucky to live in an area with natural beauty, mountains, forests, and lakes, and we're even more humbled by the opportunity to live in a place with such wonderful people. Thank you for the builders, the cashiers, the social workers, the teachers, the laborers, everyone who works hard and honestly to make our economy work. Thank you for the military men and women that we recently celebrated on Memorial Day. Bless all the men and women who offer their bodies, their lives, everything they have for invisible rights we can't see, like freedom and justice and democracy. God, give us wisdom as we ponder our budget and help us to come to a understanding and decision that in our deliberations that many citizens depend on to improve the schools, their lives, quality of life, and even the basics of life. Thank you for the opportunity to serve, and thank you for all you give us. Amen. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by this board, it's the duty of every board member to avoid both actual and apparent conflicts of interest. Does any board member know of any known or possible conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board today?
No.
Is there, very well, then, is there is a slight change in the consent agenda. Let me read that. There is, on the resolution for authority for certain contracts to the resolution delegating approval authority for certain contracts to the county manager, there is a typographical error that's significant, and let me read the change. This is the be it resolved portion of it, that the county manager or her designee is hereby authorized to make final decisions and approvals for Asheville-Buncombe Technical Community College construction projects for the college as contemplated by the Memorandum of Understanding dated March 20, 2012, including the selection fee and approval of architects, final construction contracts as permitted by law, and approval or denial of change orders, and it should be less than $50,000 instead of in excess of $50,000 on behalf of Buncombe County. So, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with that change from in excess to less than in the part of the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second? There's been a motion by Commissioner Peterson to adopt the consent agenda as it's been published. There's been a second by Vice Chair Stanley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The consent agenda is adopted. Is there a motion to follow the agenda as we have presented it today?
So moved.
Been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then we will follow the rest of the agenda as it is published. Commissioner Peterson is going to give a presentation to Kathy Beatty with Social Services about Vulnerable Adults and Elder Abuse Awareness Month. Ms.
Please
Beatty.
pay particular interest to this one, would you please?
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Peterson.
It's my privilege to read the following proclamation. County of Buncombe Proclamation of Vulnerable Adults and Elder Abuse Awareness Month. Whereas, Buncombe County seniors deserve to live safely with dignity, and whereas, vulnerable and older adults of all socioeconomic, racial, and ethnic backgrounds may be targets of abuse, neglect, or exploitation which occurs in families, long-term care facilities, and communities. And whereas, elder abuse is most often defined as any act that harms a senior or jeopardizes his or her health or welfare. And whereas, in 2011, more than 19,553 reports of abuse, neglect, or exploitation of vulnerable and older adults was made in North Carolina's 100 county departments of social services. And whereas, protecting Buncombe County's vulnerable and older adults is a community responsibility, and it is imperative that communities work together to help reduce and prevent abuse, neglect, and exploitation. And whereas in 2030, 1 in 4 North Carolinians will be over the age of 60. Whereas all residents should watch for signs of abuse, such as physical trauma, withdrawal, depression, anxiety, fear of family members, friends, or caregivers. Now, therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows, that this board does hereby proclaim June 2012 as Vulnerable Adults and Elder Abuse Awareness Month in Buncombe County, and that this board does hereby encourage all citizens to participate in community efforts to support and improve the safety and well-being of vulnerable and older adults, and secure their right to live free of abuse, neglect, and exploitation, that this proclamation be effective upon its adoption. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the proclamation.
Second.
It's been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Vice Chair Stanley. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the proclamation say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The proclamation is adopted by a 5-0 vote. Ms. Beatty, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And it is a great privilege to come to work every day and to work with a team who has a great passion for protecting adults in our county. And I just want to say that without the board's support and without our senior management, our wonderful director and county manager, the practice would not nearly be as perfect as it is. And we just thank you so much.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you, Ms. Beatty. All right. Next up, we will start our public hearings. The first public hearing will be the proposed use of the fiscal year 2013 Rural Operating Assistance Program funds, and we have a resolution authorizing the submission of an application for state grant funds under the fiscal year 2013 ROAP, and I think we have Hope Bleeker here to tell us about it. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Commissioners. It's a great pleasure to come before you today to present the county's ROAP application, Rural Operating Assistance Program Grant Fund application for fiscal year 2013. The state's ROAP program is awarded annually to county governments, and its purpose is to fund transportation services for elderly and disabled persons, employment transportation, and general purpose trips which originate in rural portions of the county. This year's application includes a total request for the county's allocation in the amount of $333,429. Funds will be used for elderly and disabled transportation services in the amount of $136,538 to fund mountain mobility services, which will also include Buncombe County's new RIDE taxi voucher program for elderly and disabled persons, and other specific transportation allocations to Asheville Parks and Recreation, Asheville Buncombe Technical Community College, Care Partners Adult Day Center, the Council on Aging of Buncombe County, Irene Wortham Adult Day, Land of Sky Regional Council, Open Hearts Arts Center. This application also includes $52,932 for employment-related transportation to fund mountain mobility services and the North Buncombe Trailblazer, as well as demand response transportation. And finally, for a rural general public allocation in the amount of $143,959 to be used for the Trailblazers and for rural general public transportation as well. I'd like to answer any questions about the application at this time, and if there are none, I'd like to ask the chair to open the public hearing.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Bleeker before we begin our public hearing?
No, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and start the public hearing portion, and we'll take 3 minutes of comment. We'll start, it's 4:41. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this application? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Souther, you can come on. You can sit up here. Just be ready to go. Any other comments? We got 2 people for sure. Anybody? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Reverend Lisa Landis. I feel that it is very important for those in the rural communities, but I'm wondering why we are just limiting to the disabled and to the elderly. There are a lot of people who are in those areas that would benefit also for something of such. So my question is, why are we limiting it? Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Landis. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Souther.
Linda Southard Candler. I don't have a question about the actual the grant project, but my question is kind of more general. I believed in the 2012 budget, mountain mobility was outsourced in that transportation fund. And my understanding of a service that's been outsourced is that, you know, I guess I'm asking why we're putting more money to it if this has been an outsourced service. And I have a question about that whole issue as well, because in outsourcing it, pre-outsourcing, we were at $2.6 million. Post-outsourcing, we were at $3.8 million. So somehow by outsourcing mountain mobility, we increased our cost to the county by $1.2 million. And I have a question about that.
Thank you, Ms. Souther. We will try to answer that. Any other comments? Mr. Rice? Or questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For whatever it's worth, I heard that the state or someone was going to be decreasing these kind of funds for this kind of service, federal funds and maybe state funds. So I'd like for that to be included in these questions that's been brought up. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Any other questions or comments for the public hearing of the Rural Operating Assistance Program Fund application? If not, I will declare the public hearing portion closed at 4:45. Ms. Bleeker, did you hear the questions that they had? Would you be able to answer those or give any comments on them?
I can comment on a few of them.
Okay, go ahead. Why don't we do that, and then if there's anything, maybe if there's anything else, we could get to the people there.
The ROAP funds are actually a state source. I think that was a question. And the allocation that Buncombe County is seeing this year is actually, it's a little lower in the portion dedicated to the elderly and disabled funding. However, the overall allocation this year is higher to what it was the year before. Again, these are not federal funds that come out of the state, directly out of the state's budget. The allocation this year, as I stated previously, is $333,429 as compared to last year in the amount of $419,000. So the overall allocation is slightly higher. And also to address the question about general public transportation, That last item that I mentioned, the RGP funds, are dedicated strictly to the rural residents of the county. So, in other words, as long as you're not an urban resident or living within the city limits, there are very few restrictions on how you can utilize that aspect of the road.
Okay, so is it fair to say the bulk of it is for seniors and disabled, but there is a portion for people that live outside the
Absolutely.
transportation corridors of the urban area?
Generally, what Mountain Mobility does is its mission is dedicated largely to elderly persons over the age of 60 and or disabled persons. But that RGP allocation, which we utilize to fund the Trailblazers and some demand response elements of the county's program as well, are not limited by age or your ability to not access a bus or be in a wheelchair or have some other physical challenge. So those are open generally to county residents.
Okay, and I guess you wouldn't know about the budget, the $3.8 million. Do we? That I think Ms. Souther asked about what?
That may be addressed by someone other than me.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody? John able to? Okay, Denise. I think the question, as I understood it, was it looked like we had outsourced Mountain Mobility, and why put more money in the outsource? And there was a $3.8 million question she had about the increased cost. Are you familiar with that?
If I may, Mr. Chairman, when we outsource these things, we outsource the management of them. We do not outsource the responsibility to put it on. Just
Thank you.
management.
Okay.
That is a good point, Commissioner Stanley. Thank you. Just to briefly address that, I won't get into too many details, but we did outsource the operations and the administration of Mountain Mobility in July of 2011. Our budget from year to year can really vary because of the level of grant funds we get, as well as some other kinds of cost issues we may face. And in FY 2011, we actually have, I want to say 12 replacement vans budgeted, vehicles. We have a lot of technology still budgeted. We had budgeted extra for fuel increases and that sort of thing. So we intend to, of course, stay within our budget, but that budget is going to vary from year to year as far as the bottom line budget is concerned, due to the level of grants we get. This year's grant for 2013 will be very similar. Some years you may see a decrease of maybe $500,000, but that's because we may be replacing 2 vehicles instead of 12 or something of that nature. So there are variations from year to year in that. Overall, though, as Mr. Stanley said, the management and operations are bid out, but Buncombe County is the recipient and the responsible party under these grants that we receive to help us pay for the operations and management of Mountain Mobility. And so through those contracts, we're able to get some really good expert assistance in operating and managing the program, especially in operating from respect of it being run by a national company experienced in that industry. So I think the overall outsourcing certainly has benefited us in many ways. We are no longer employing those drivers and staff directly, but the majority of those continue their employment under the contract, and as best we know, and according to our monitoring standards, everything's going well. So we feel like it has been a successful contracting experience so far.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Ms. Bleeker or Ms. Brain? If not, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So move.
Second.
Been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Vice Chair Stanley. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll call the question. All those in favor of adopting the resolution as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The resolution authorizing the submission of application is granted, is approved 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. Next up, we have the Buncombe County fiscal year 2013 budget, and Dr. Wanda Green gave an extensive presentation last meeting, and we'll have a summary and take public comment this meeting. We will not, just for the crowd, we will not be voting on the budget this meeting. We are here to take input from the community, and we will be making decisions, and we'll do the final vote in 2 weeks.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, just to summarize the budget that we have before you for public comment tonight, it's a $337.7 million budget, about a 1% increase over 2012. It was developed using our current tax rate at 52.5 cents. There are some increases in the budget that are primarily due to changes at the federal level from a social service and public safety standpoint, incentives for our Linamar, changes in election and reappraisal and civic center improvements, and fuel and utility are a big part of cost increases. Core services are 82% of the budget: public safety, human service, and education. We did hold education at the 2012 level, which they are happy about being held at that level as opposed to having any kind of cuts. On their agenda, you see all the attachments, which includes our spreadsheet that gives you more detail on the different departments and how much is budgeted in each department. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about the content of it.
Any questions from the board, Ms. Dr. Green? Any comments before we begin our public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have been reflecting all the input and the questions about commissioner compensation. And as a part of my reflecting, I thought about the responsibilities that we assume as a Buncombe County Commissioner. We vary in background and skills and interests. We vary in our board assignments, the assignments that we're given by the board here, the boards that we serve on. Each day can be different as we carry out our responsibilities of this office, but in many ways, they're all the same because we're on the ground in our beloved county communicating every day with our constituents. To facilitate the transition from a 5-member board to the new 7-member board, which takes office in December, and the majority of which will be new, there will be at least 4 new members. I would like this board, my current board, my fellow commissioners, I'd like this board's support to instruct the manager to prepare the budget ordinance to include the current salary levels only through November for commissioners. At that time, the new board, and it's going to be a new ball game, a new day in Buncombe County, the new board can adopt the new compensation structure. And I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All right. There has been a motion to retain the current salary compensation for commissioners through the November elections.
Correct.
And I guess that's your motion.
That's my motion.
And then the new board would, by necessity, in their organizational meeting, set their salary.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, I think she's hit the nail on the head that the fact that no matter what the outcome of the election is, there will be 4 brand new rookie commissioners up here that have never been here before, I think. I don't think any of them that are running have ever been here before. But they ought to have that opportunity. They may want to cut the salaries way down. They want to move them up. After they've been here a couple of months, they may want to move them up. But right now, they don't know that yet. But I think they should have that opportunity. So if we shut it down at the end of November, folks, I think I've earned my money. I feel pretty strongly about that what I've been paid. And I'm proud of it, proud of the work. But I think they deserve the opportunity to decide for themselves what they want to get paid.
All right. Any discussion?
I guess, I think it's a really interesting idea, and first I've heard of it. I'd love to hear the public's input about it. So that's part of how kind of our process is try to get some input from the public. But I think that, so I guess the idea would be that theoretically we could change our salaries anytime. I mean, so we could keep them, we could lower them now, and then we could raise them then. So it kind of, I guess I'm not following all the rationale about the new adoption. I think there's I'm not necessarily against it, but I do think that that's definitely out of normal budgeting norms for salaries and for commissioners. But it seems to open up the doors for changing salaries anytime to me. But and maybe that's what we want to do. Maybe that's perfectly fine. I think that part of what you do in a budget is trying to help people prepare what's coming in the next year in terms of their lifestyle, in terms of staff and whatnot. But it's an interesting proposition for sure. I'm probably, if we vote on it right now, I maybe would like to ask if we could pause it till after the public hearing and see what the public has to say about it. Without the public's input, I'm not sure I would be supportive of it right now. But and I really need to process that whole idea of kind of shifting in midstream. New idea, interesting idea, new idea this moment.
All right. Any other discussion? So I guess, Mr. Frew, is there any comments about our posture at this point?
My first thought is I'm not sure if Commissioner Jones is trying to make a motion to put this off, but in any event, to put it off till after public comment would require an amendment of the motion by Commissioner Peterson and a new second by Commissioner Stanley. So that motion would be out of order unless they amended that motion. If it's the budget ordinance has commissioner salaries and allowances have to be set in the budget ordinance, but we do routinely have budget amendment processes, so I think it would be within the statute boundaries to amend it by adoption or by amendment to the budget ordinance in December if that was the pleasure of the board at that time.
Yes, and I misspoke. I guess there is a meeting after the election, so at least maybe...
The statute calls for swearing in and meeting first Monday of December after the general election.
Okay, so it would go through November, I guess.
Yes.
This proposed. And what I'm hearing you say that the only way we got a motion on the floor, it would take a friendly amendment to
delay
it.
Yes.
Since the motion is on the floor. Is that, I guess, what's the pleasure of the board on voting on it now?
So, I mean, I would ask for that friendly amendment.
Okay.
My motion stands as stated.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, then there's a motion and a second. Is there any other comment?
So just one quick clarification. So general statute tells us that we're to set the salaries now for the year. That's part of what we have to do in our ordinance. So that's set by general statute.
Within the budget ordinance, yes.
Right.
It is set in the budget ordinance.
Right. Okay.
All right.
So basically, at the end of the day, this vote is setting our salaries for the year. I mean, we can say we can change, but that's kind of what it's saying. Okay, I'm good.
Till it's amended on the first week in November.
I'm ready to go.
For our term, yeah. And then if we're reelected, we would continue. Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Well, I was hoping to have this discussion next week, 2 weeks from now, but so I will still be supportive of reducing our salaries for the next year to get in line with the where other counties our size are, and I think it's appropriate. We've had time to study it and understand where folks are. I think it's a fair compromise. So if we're setting the salary for the year in this budget ordinance, I'm still supportive of my motion before. Would have liked to have heard from the public. Maybe we still will. So I will be voting against this amendment because this sets it at where we are, and I think that's excessive for our community.
Okay, any other comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor of Commissioner Peterson's motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
No. The vote, the motion carries 3-2. Gant and Jones, no.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have one other situation that I would like to have some discussion regarding. Two of the things that Commissioner Jones mentioned at the end of our last meeting, one had to do with Commissioner's salary, and I agree completely with Commissioner Stanley in that this is a labor of love, but it's also a job that takes time, effort, and expertise and dedication to. One of the other points that Commissioner Jones made was regarding longevity and capping longevity at $3,000 for our county employees. And I would like to know now if Commissioner Jones is willing to make a motion to cap longevity at $3,000 at this point in time for our employee. Cap employee longevity benefits at $3,000. If you would like to make that motion.
I was hoping to, I might be missing what the question is, but I was hoping to hear from the public today about all the ideas that were put forth in the budget, as well as the ideas that I put out there. So I don't know if I'm not reading something between the lines. I think it's a pretty good idea. Would like to hear from the public. So I was planning to make a motion 2 weeks from now when I'd had more time to discern and hear from the public. So I'm not ready to make a motion tonight. But maybe that's not what you're asking me, Carol. I'm happy to process it more with you.
Well, my question is, are you willing at this point in time to make a motion to cap employee longevity benefits at $3,000 now, at this time?
At 5:02.
Correct.
No, I'm not. I want to hear from the public. So, but I would plan to make that motion based on the input and some more research that I'm doing in 2 weeks. So I don't want to pretend like that's not an idea, that idea has gone away, because that would not be forthright and honest, because I still think it's, a viable idea. Can you tell me what you're trying to understand from that question? Because I'd be happy to share.
Well, it's my my understanding that it is very important as far as the folks that we have who are employed with Buncombe County, that we have people who are here for the long term, who have experience and are rewarded for the job that they do. We don't have turnover. We have a great staff. We have a great benefit package for our folks. And as part of the package that they were hired under, then this longevity was part of that. And there's been a lot of unrest within our employee base, and I would just simply like to put that to rest today, and I think the quicker we can do that, the better.
I see.
Okay. Mr. Frew, is that a motion by Commissioner Peterson to instruct?
No.
No, I've not
I'm
heard it.
asking
It's an
Commissioner
inquiry
Jones
to
if she's
two commissioners. Okay.
ready to make that motion.
Okay, and I think her answer is no. She wanted to have the public hearing and
And I'm
get
happy
input.
to continue to get, emails and have conversations, and I'm wide open to hearing people's feedback.
Okay,
Well, I think if I could just wrap this up from my perspective, and that is that I feel very strongly that we have in Buncombe County employees, government people, as work for the government, they should be rewarded as highly as anybody who is in an industry that provides services as we provide. I mean, our folks are as important as any people working in any other type of government. They should be rewarded as such. They were hired under certain circumstances, knowing that longevity was a part of the package that they were hired under. I think we need to keep our word with these employees that they will be able to continue with this longevity package, and to have an idea come out to our folks that their longevity is going to be capped at a certain amount of money is just not the good way to treat the people who work with Buncombe County, and I'm extremely concerned about that. And I will always be supportive of the employees and the work they do, and I want the public to know that. And I wanted to put to rest the fact that our folks are concerned about this. And I thought if we could put that to rest, that probably several people in this boardroom, our good long-term 25 to 30-year employees, could take a breath, leave here today, and know that we're looking out for them. And that's my whole basis for doing that. And
I deeply appreciate your concern for our employees, and I would assume everybody that enters this realm cares deeply about the employees. And the ultimate tension that we hold in this office is trying to reward good performance, but also be good stewardships of the people that put us in this, of the dollars of the people that put us in this office. And it's never easy. And I mean, I think all of us would like to pay top dollar to our folks, but we have this dueling responsibility. And you know, and I feel like part of my job as an elected official is to intentionally struggle with that, and bring the citizens in here as well as the staff. So, you know, trying to find. I think the. I'm sorry if there's any discomfort for the next 2 weeks with folks. I'm happy to talk to you. I would. Happy to talk with you. So, but I think that we've got to get to a place where it's okay to share ideas and have ideas and talk honestly about our resources and what our citizens are facing. I mean, the last presentation we had 2 weeks ago, we heard about the poverty rate of our seniors, and it's extraordinarily high. The poverty rate of our seniors. And guess what? Most of them are writing checks. So I'm trying to grapple with rewarding excellent employees. And I will absolutely push back on the idea that having this conversation and putting forth this concern somehow should be translated in me not supporting employees. That is an unfortunate conclusion. And I think most people that know me and that interact with me know that that's not where I'm coming from. So if articulating that helps folks in this room understand where I'm coming from, that's why I'll put that out there. So I would hope that we could go forward and try to find the best place for all the interests involved, and I'll have a lot more data clearly in two weeks, and we can kind of look at what that means in terms of relationship to where our citizens are in the community. So there, but you know, while we're talking, the one motion that I did feel very clearly about, and I have felt strongly about for 2 years and talked about it, and kept on thinking it was going to come back via staff. And I will make this motion tonight, so if we can get one motion out there, because I feel strongly about this. I'm going to make this motion regardless of what the community says, and that is that we, beginning July 1st, I move that we change our health insurance to be more fair to our newer employees, our new hires, to really work on the recruitment that we say that we're about, and become a best practice employer, and reduce that waiting time from the proposed 3 months to 1 month. And I think that's in line with where other governmental agencies are. I think it's humane. I think as a public service, public health directed entity, that we need to be modeling getting folks health insurance and coverage sooner rather than later. I think it makes sense, an important signal. So I will make that motion, Chairman Gant, that we reduce the waiting time for health insurance for all our employees from the proposed 3 months to the proposed 1 month, beginning July 1st.
All right. There's been a motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of second. Any other motions? All right, we're ready for the public hearing. We're going to hear from the public 3 minutes. If you'll give your name and where you live, and we will. Let's if we could pull that chair up and have the person on deck, so to speak, sit in the chair next to the podium. Thank you, our sheriff. Does it all. Thank you, Sheriff Duncan. Okay, who wants to speak? We'll start our public hearing at 5:10. Mr. Fryer, who's next after Mr. Fryer? Ms. Southern, if you can sit in the batter's box and.
Well, my time's already started and hadn't even got up here. And I got
It's
8
not
people
on,
here.
Mr. Fryer. I don't know if your time, the light's not on that.
I got 8 people here, so I need 10 minutes.
Okay, everybody raise their hand that chooses not to speak in favor of Mr. Fryer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You do, and you will not be able to speak. So Mr. Fryer will speak for you. That's fine. Go ahead, Mr. Fryer.
Okay, I've sat here and I've listened. I heard what happened the other week, and I've looked at cutting the salary to $22,000. I have a paper here that we came in this room in February of 2011 and told everybody that they needed to cut their salary more. It wasn't the salary, it's the perks we asked for. That's when this ran. So, y'all, when you did take your perks away, well, in the process, now you've took the perks and rolled them into a salary. Well, I couldn't get them to put this on the thing, but this is what it says at the Board of Elections. I was supposed to sign up, I got this, for $175. That's $17,500. Mr. Gant, Chairman, one more in the room, you were supposed to sign up for $260. That would mean you make $26,000. Let's go away from this one. Let's go to this one. This was in the paper Saturday or Sunday, what the salary of the manager makes and supposedly the longevity. This is not any of these people's fault. There's 5 people up there that say yes to a budget. So, I know people that 4 years ago made $38,000, and when a few things change, they make $47,000 now. So anybody that's making in the $100,000s is really going to get good. Then you go down here, Mecklenburg County. I understand it was brought out that we were the second highest paid salary in North Carolina. Well, no, salary and perks together, you were the second highest paid. The salary in Mecklenburg, like that salary I just showed you, $17,500, Mecklenburg's is $23,000 with no perks. Then you go to Wake County, 925,000 people, $17,500. That's what all of them make. They pick their chair. He makes $20,000. They do not pay the vice chair another $4,000. He gets an office. The chair gets an office, the vice chair gets an office, and the other 5 get desks in the same room. So why are we in Buncombe County taking our people's money? We're spending $1 million across the street to put new chambers in and 7 offices, and there's a whole lot of people in this room that's running. Our office should be out in the county. I disagree with a lot of things. I don't think we took the job for this. There's people that go work at the VA for free. I've seen a lot of things come forward. I do understand, but you are the highest paid commissioners in North Carolina as far as a salary today. That's wrong. Let's go back to what we're supposed to sign up for. Y'all brought it forward. You wouldn't listen to comment. It's here. We're all running. I'm running. I'll take what's on that little board. That board was 2 months, less than 2 months before we went up and wrote a check. We had to give them $264. That means we're making a salary of $26,400. There's a few other issues that was brought up that's not been brought up tonight. We do not need to give anyone insurance in 30 days. I've been a businessman for 32 years. Half of them can't find a bathroom in 30 days. So, 90 days, the people will be working a whole lot better, and you'll figure out if they are going to be a decent employee, period. But 30 days, they're still learning the ropes, and if you have to get rid of them before you give them the insurance, that's not fair to them or fair to the county. So 90 days is a good number. I guess that's why I've tried to be in business. It's not doing too good now. But we have had different things happen in the year that the commissioners have give raises to people when other people didn't give raises. This has to stop. It's the 5 people, and it'll be 7, as Mr. Stanley so well said. There'll be 4 new members of this board. I do not blame any of this on any of these people. If you go from here to there, it's $1 million sitting up here a year. I think people, I took this to work for the public. I don't need no Apple computers. I've got an iPhone. Somebody needs to get a hold of me. It works just perfect. If they want me to call them, that'll be fine. But I'm not doing this for that. But that right there, that article is what I brought forward. And the only other, I probably guess the only other issue is I have, and it's a pretty good size one, is we're funding an agency, and it's going to make somebody mad. In 2008, we give them $758,405. In 2009, we give them $728,198. In 2010, we give them $843,397. 2011, we give them $875,465. Well, half a year 2012, we've already given them $481,358. This is a tax-exempt, nonprofit organization, and this is what we get for it. Political signs on the marquee. Now, that's not right, people. That's the federal tax dollars. That says the YWCA is against Amendment 1. That's on their sign. So we've given them $3,687,223 in 4.5 years. And they go political. They say, well, churches did it the opposite direction. Churches don't get this money. If the people donate to a church, they get a tax break. If the people donate to the YWCA, they get a tax break. But when it comes from the DSS, Ms. Stone having to give it to them, that's taxpayer dollars or money borrowed from China. There's an old saying, give a man a fish for a day, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for life. I know there's people hurting in this county. I know everything's up percentage-wise, up to 23%. You, as good stewards of this county, have to look, and I'm sure the staff up here, they understand. They just don't say nothing. When they get what they get it. So I don't blame any of them. But there's people in this room that's looking to see what can happen to help Buncombe County. Taking people's property and telling them they can't put trailers on it is another issue that's part of the budget. We take people's money and put it in our budget. But I'm really tired of having to come up and speak on this stuff. But Wake County, 900-some thousand people, and people sitting up here saying, "Oh, I think we deserve what we get." Well, if you do, I'm going to be retired. And sure, I'd like to have $38,000 in my pocket. People don't understand where we were at when we did this. When I found these perks. And I hadn't made a dime. But that's like Miss Jones saying she wants to cut it now. That would be perfect. But I said that 16 months ago. If you'd have done it 16 months ago, you would have saved the county another $30,000. But y'all didn't want to do it. Nobody wanted to do it tonight. Everybody's perfectly happy with 26.4 being the highest paid in North Carolina. Let's see, 3 of yous are at 26.4. 1 of yous are at 31,000, and the chair's at $34,900 tonight. That's wrong. I'm sorry. This is a job for the people of this county. And if you don't want to do the job, if it's for the money, all of you need to leave. I'm sorry. Because you're retired. Everybody up here is retired. There's 3 school teachers that's retired that's drawing good salaries. And if they don't want to work and try to help the community for a little bit and go out in their districts, then I have a problem, and I think a few other people in this room do too. So I do appreciate your time, but sorry I had to bring it in that form. There's one thing that I asked to do is to get this put on that little machine back there so it'd show up on that screen. I guess we can't use it, and we bought it.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. Ms. Southern? For the record, I'm not retired. Ms. Jones is not retired either.
I just have some general comments on the budget and on the capital plan. Some general observations. First of all, the increase in the cost of the general government segment was 4.4% this year. And the net cost, because you took out, I guess money you get back from grants or whatever, the net cost was actually an increase of 6% this year. That's, to me, we're growing our government. This is just the administration part of it by 6%. That's a huge increase. It's definitely different than 1%. In 2013, we're plugging our hole with $8.4 million. Last year, it was $7.6 million. That's about a 9% increase over last year. I guess I have to ask, where are we being fiscally responsible here that we're having to increase by that much money the amount we need to plug holes in our budget? Secondly, I want to address about the salary issues. I'm not going to go into about the commissioners being the highest paid or whatever. There's a lot of people in Buncombe County that are high paid. There are a lot of high paid Buncombe County employees. In fact, the average Buncombe County employee makes $51,422. That includes the longevity bonus. And they get 48% salary, or 48% benefit package. So add that to that's the average benefit package. Now, I don't have an issue with that. If this was a regular corporation, you could pay whatever you want. But the citizens of Buncombe County are paying these salaries, and the average citizen is making $34,000 a year with a benefit package worth 20 to 25% max. That, I don't see how that is a sustainable situation, and I know Commissioner Jones suggested increasing that, moving up. That's just going to increase that benefit package even more. So I think we need to be looking at that. I know that we keep saying we want the best and the brightest and we want to attract and retain, but nearby counties aren't paying that much. We are. Capital plan, I guess I'm questioning why we need to be spending in 2013 $6.7 million for 3 satellite social service offices when we just completed the brand new office downtown on Cox Avenue. I'd like to see some kind of justification that people in Buncombe County are having trouble accessing social services. I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't seen it. I'd like to know why we're spending $6.7 million for that. Also, we're spending $9.3 million in 2013 on another cell for the landfill to generate electricity. I guess as a citizen of Buncombe County, I'd like to see a P&L and all the money we've spent so far and what we're going to get back for that.
Thank you, Ms. Southern.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Reverend Landis, and who wants to speak after Reverend Landis? David, if you'll come on up.
Reverend Lisa Landis. I was always under the assumption that public servant was a servant of the people. And servants don't usually get paid a whole lot, from what I had thought. Going through it, it's like the development of a scorecard, $25,000. I wrote a whole bunch of different things, public safety, communication, upgrade, down 600,000, EOC garage up 600,000, DSS exteriors, $108,000, and it's like, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to get into that other one later. The Civic Center, $340,000. Why are we giving the Civic Center $340,000? It's like, I have 3 minutes up here. I would love to talk a little bit longer, but unfortunately, the people have no voice here. It's really, really sickening that the people have no voice, that we get to stand up here for 3 minutes and to talk to you, which, I don't think that you really even hear anything that the people say. Holly, thank you at least for considering what the people say. Of everybody, thank you for at least listening to what the people have to say, for at least considering it. You're talking about money. What is it? $1,600,000 that it's down for public safety, human services, total physical, community, economic, and cultural development. It's like, okay, $1,600,000. That's almost like the $1,900,000 for the longevity payouts. And it's like, okay, if you guys were doing a really great job, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I think that that's where the problem is. I had requested a BCTV budget, and I was really insulted that it would consist of one line, 2 numbers. Really, I asked for 4 years, so I got 4 lines. 4 lines, 8 numbers was a budget. That is not a budget. That is a number. That is a number of I'm not even going to say. Things need to be changed around here, and if you guys are in office, then you guys are the ones that are supposed to be doing the changing. You are supposed to be the example of the people, for the people, and by the people, and I'm sorry, but your job performance does not equal to your pay, period. If you were doing a good job, I would love to stand up here and pat you on the back. Like I said, Holly, thanks. I would love to say that to you too, but unfortunately I can't lie. Public access. The people need a platform in which to communicate, because it is the communication that brings the unity in our community. And until we have that, we're not going to have a good, right now the government is really controlling the people big time. So what I'm proposing is that public access should get at least as much as our government pays the people to produce the BCTV. And I also heard that you guys get your election campaigns videotaped free. That's cool. Have a good day.
Dave, Mr. King?
Commissioner Gant, Commissioners, I'm from Candler. I'm running for commission, and when I decided to do that, I stopped speaking at these meetings out of respect for the forum. But I feel compelled, since politics has been introduced here, to get up and speak tonight. And I'm fairly astute with local political issues, and have a fairly good pulse of the people. I guess I'm intrigued and a little bit mystified at the same time as to why Commissioner Jones, after 4 years, has found this to be such a compelling issue. And I get the political component of this. It's it's political season. But I guess my concern, while we're worrying about salaries and those issues, what is the story behind the story here? If it wasn't important 4 years ago, why is it important today? I will speculate your constituency probably doesn't care a great deal about, excuse me, either employee pay or commissioner pay. So, only you can answer this. I don't know.
I don't think we don't address specific
okay,
commissioners. Let's address the policy, Dave.
Okay, the policy. Okay, my concern is long term, there'll be a huge change in the board. Depending on how that board changes and what the makeup is, these salaries will be a drop in a bucket to what could be happening to county funds, depending on which way this goes. And that's the long-term concern. I'm less concerned right now about individual pay, about commission pay, but where funds will go in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. King. Jerry and Michelle. Mr. Rice and Ms. Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I think I've been here for 20-some years, almost a year less than Bill has, and consistently. And I don't think a man's got any more knowledge than I have of this county-run government. And I have done service for 24 years for special kids. Not one penny out of nobody's pocket but mine and my wife's. And that is what you call service. And not to pat myself on the back, but when service is service, that's what it ought to be. Money don't buy happiness. There's some things that I'd like to bring to your attention about the budget. The facts is, as for Citizen Times, TV 13 should not be the promoter of a budget or anything else of the county commissioners. Every time you have a budget or anything, you always have a political something or another in the paper to promote the big story that everybody wants to blurb about, and then the real issues goes by the wayside. My dad always told me, follow the money and you'll find the answer. We found some answers, but these issues that's being brought up today is a smokescreen for the real issues, and that is that Buncombe County is spending money and plenty of it for years after year after year. And I've been here and I brought it to your attention. On the consent agenda, they are millions of dollars being spent every time we meet on consent agenda. No discussion, no bear dog fights, no cat fights like you are today, and nothing of that nature being talked about the budget. But when it comes to these personal things, it all blows out and it all gets put in the newspaper. My concern is the people in Buncombe County needs a tax break, tax relief. One thing that's happening is this budget is being built to the point that when reevaluation of property comes back around, you might give people a relief, but I would say we need a relief. The county people that are paying the bill needs to have a relief. Property tax reduction, period. This budget needs to go to revenue neutral, period, year to year. We should not be gaining priority over people out here suffering. Talk about the school. Talk about the budgets of any that you supply. But the school, Buncombe County School, is sitting over there with a reserve and has for 15 years or better that I can tell you of $6 to $8 million. And don't tell me it's not there. You'd be lying if you did, because I know it is. So I think you need to look at the real thing, and that's the money.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Ms. Wood? Anyone will speak after Ms. Wood? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Michelle Pace-Wood. I'm from Candler. I just want to speak about the longevity for a minute here. I just want to say that I think it's really important that anyone looking to invest in Buncombe County, who comes to Buncombe County and has any kind of a contract with Buncombe County, feel confident that contract will be honored. I'm not sure that when that contract with some of our older employees was made that maybe that was the best decision, but that contract was made with them as far as I'm concerned, and I think it needs to be honored. Moving forward, you need to be fiscally responsible. I think everyone knows this is a different time and a different budget. But if you make a contract with someone who wants to build a building and then you come back later and you decide that, I know we said yes to that, but it's too much money, I don't think that's, the right thing to do. I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't agree that we need to be as fiscally responsible as possible. But if we've made a deal, we need to honor that deal. Changing rules and regulations a week before someone gets a permit, that's another example. We need to make sure that everyone knows what the rules are, and when they agree and say yes to us, whether it be an employee or a contractor or someone who's willing to come in and invest a lot of money on the ground for a project to move forward for jobs for us, they feel confident that Buncombe County is going to be there as a partner for them. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wood. Yes, ma'am. And who wants to speak next? Okay. Go ahead.
I'm Leslie Culba from Asheville, and I sent an email earlier today. I don't know who received it, But I wanted to speak against the Business Improvement District. The outside agency fund listing has $200,000 allocation for the Business Improvement District. Both Asheville and Buncombe County have been asked to give $200,000 to the Business Improvement District, and the creation of that would, of course, impose a 7-cent tax increase on property in the city of Asheville. And at the City Council's meeting, on their 5th Tuesday meeting, there was a large about 12 people showed up to speak against it. It was a diverse group. People of all ages, different races came out and said, we can't handle this. This is going to be the straw. Economic times are hard, and we don't need this. And what I see is the $200,000 sneaking up on your agenda is going to give the BID proponents an opportunity to say, look, Buncombe County voted for it, so now Asheville needs to vote for it. And I would rather, I've described it as it's like, the child of divorced parents pitting one against another. Say, look, mom approved it, so you need to approve it, Daddy. And I really would like you to at least let Asheville, who has heard the complaints of the downtown residents, let them be the ones to make the choice first. And we just slide that up the table for a while. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cobb. Any other public comment tonight? All righty. I will declare the public hearing on the budget closed at 5:36. We will be voting in 2 weeks on the final budget, and at that point we will not be taking public comment on the budget because we did that tonight. Thank you for coming. It is a difficult.
Fire chief wants to speak.
I'm sorry.
Fire chief wants to
Oh,
speak.
I'm sorry. Did I miss somebody? Okay, sure.
Do
Chief?
you want to speak? Do you want to speak?
We will.
Sustainability.
Okay. Jump the gun. Chief, come in. We appreciate your service. Come in.
Didn't want to interrupt anything. But, for those who don't know me, I'm Scott Jones, the Fire Chief, Fairview Fire Department. I want to thank each one of you for the service y'all do for us. Realize it's a difficult budget year, but we had something that's really important to us and the citizens of Fairview. We wanted to bring to you. We put in a request for a penny-and-a-half increase in our fire tax for the Fairview Fire District. I've give you some papers there that kind of clearly states what insurance companies in the Fairview Fire District quoted us on some homes in Fairview. Right now we're at an insurance class 6. If we were to be increased to a class 9, you can see there clearly there's going to be anywhere from average of $234 a year to $337 per year in increase in homeowners' insurance premiums. In 2004, we were inspected by Department of Insurance. They're the ones that gives us the insurance ratings, and there's a lot that goes into that as far as how they score. score us. But that insurance reclassification saved taxpayers in Fairview about $250, $300 a year on their insurance premiums. There was a lot to go along with that as far as maintaining that insurance classification. There was some requirements to add a substation, add an additional engine, and add some more personnel. Since 2004, we have done all those, fulfilled all those requirements. However, due to the growth in Fairview after the 2004 inspection, next time we're up for inspection, we're probably going to be risking losing that insurance classification. If it does do that, our insurance classification could go up. The other thing is we like to try to respond to any emergency incident within 5 minutes. Well, that southern end of our district, you're looking at a normal response is anywhere from 5 minutes to 10 minutes plus. So try to summarize that. You'll see a map that's stapled to that. We have color coded. If you'll look, the northern end of our district is our current substation. It's in the dark blue with the pink highlights. That's what Department Insurance recognizes as a standard 5-minute response. The middle section there with the dark green highlights, that's our main station response, and then the southern end, you can see that that's a 5-minute response there. So without that substation in place, you're looking about 10 to 15-minute response times in some of those areas. The main thing we were wanting to do is see if you could support us in that, and hopefully try to save the taxpayers some increases in their insurance, as well as save our response time. So,
thank you, Chief Jones. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to reopen the public hearing. I'm sorry. I guess I missed some people. Mayor, if you'll come up. Thank you, Mayor Martin. I'll reopen at 5:40.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'm here today to speak for the Blue Ridge Sustainability Institute. You will see in your outside agency budget requests that we have a request there. A little bit about the Blue Ridge Sustainability Institute. We have projects in the city and county to promote green building, green restaurants. As a matter of fact, we want to build on the success that we've had promoting green restaurants. You may have heard of this. We have 17 restaurants in our county that are labeled green restaurants. We would like to expand on this. We have had national press on this from Huffington Post. We will be probably the greenest town and county in North America, in the United States, per capita, as of the completion of this project. So we need your assistance to provide services to more restaurants to achieve this. We are going to work with, we at least plan to work with, the breweries that are expected to open here. We are also wanting to expand this to bed and breakfasts here in Asheville and the community, the county. We have a broader geographic focus, and that includes Asheville, Buncombe County, etc. We have 2 other projects that I'd like to mention. These are the Green Hospitality Coalition, working throughout Buncombe County. We're also trying to promote sustainable tourism. We have an initiative that we're trying to promote. We also have had 32 Green Mondays. You're probably familiar with Green Mondays. It's an important vehicle to let the citizens of Buncombe County know what is happening, what they can do, what the community is doing to promote green initiatives. Lenny Bernstein and Katie Cavert are here today to assist. I appreciate them coming. We have a lot of things going on. We need your assistance to continue this good work in our community. Thank you.
Mayor Russ Martin, thank you. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service to the city of Asheville.
Thank you.
And Blue Ridge Sustainability. Any other public comment? This is the really last call. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I missed you earlier. 5:43, we will have our vote on the budget next meeting. Next up, we have old business, further consideration of the Waste Pro rate increase. Mr. Creighton.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I guess at our last meeting, Mr. Christie with Waste Pro kind of went over, I guess, their proposal for what they wanted was an 8% rate increase. Just to kind of recap things a little bit, currently a residential homeowner pays $14.20 a month for for a pickup once a week. Mr. Christie stated that obviously fuel costs have increased, workman's comp have gone up, and insurance costs. And he's also sent some information along to you all additionally that tires, parts, and fluids along with that have increased dramatically. If you grant an 8% increase, that means that the monthly rate would go from $14.20 to $15.34. Now, just to kind of recap, in the contract that we have with Waste Pro, there's a standard that it's just not the consumer price index that we look at. It's stated that the consumer price index, urban wage earners and clerical workers, U.S. city average is what that we have to look at, and that is published as part of the consumer price index. And it also states in the contract that there has to be, they cannot come before 2 years of the initial contract, and this contract started in January of 2010, and there has to be at least a 5% increase in that index before they can ask for a rate adjustment. If you recap from January 2010 to December 2011, there was a 4.9% increase in that index. From January of this year through April of this year, there was a 2.2% increase in that index for a total of 7.1%. So obviously they've met the 5% cap before they could ask, and it has gone up more than the 5%. I guess in looking at it, obviously I agree that costs have gone up over the last almost year and a half. But that big unknown is diesel fuel. Obviously, the information that Mr. Christie presented that initially back in 2010, January, they were paying $2.63 a gallon, and they say in May that they were paying $4.03. You know, it makes it kind of a hard call there, because when I look at the national average on fuel, from May to June, diesel has dropped 21 cents a gallon. Just in the last week, it's dropped a nickel a gallon. And from April to June, it's gone down 30 cents a gallon. So obviously right now, we're on a downward cycle. I think that when you look at the price of a barrel of oil, it's dramatically down in the low 80s. I think that we heard here tonight that people are definitely struggling. We are concerned about, you know, every dollar we put out there as far as a burden on our citizens. But on the other end, I agree that Waste Pro needs some kind of adjustment, and I guess that I would like to recommend a 4% adjustment. That would take the price of the $14.20 and bring it up to $14.77. That would be a 57-cent increase. And I guess in rough numbers would bring in about $175,000 additional revenues to Waste Pro a year. So, like I say, I'm trying to meet in between. I think it's 7.1. Obviously, gas is going down. You know, I think that to be fair to everybody, it's hard for anybody to come in and say, well, my costs have gone up this X amount, and we sit there and say, okay, then I think that we'll adjust those figures to meet your needs, especially when it's paid by the citizens and, you know, it's not paid by the county. It's a service that we basically oversee, and people opt to either take that service or not. So, I mean, you may have some questions for me, you may have some questions for Mr. Christie, but I'd be more than happy to answer anything you may have.
All right, that's great. Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Creighton? And I see Mr. Christie's here.
I was just wondering about, not now, but maybe in the future, just exploring the idea of connecting price increases with the gas at a certain point. That seems like a fair thing to understand better. You don't have to tell me now, but I would like to be better educated as a commissioner around that, because I know that's in some communities that's how they do it, and in speaking with Mr. Christie, that seemed to be the way a lot of other communities to do it. So I'm sure there's really strong reasons that we do it like we do. I'd just like to understand, because I would hate to be having to have this conversation every year about changing. Maybe that's part of what I just need to get used to, but.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the contract states that, I mean, once we make an adjustment, then they've got to make that 5% threshold again before they can come back. It's not that we only got 4 of the 8% will be back next week
And the
or next
5%
month.
threshold, can you say a little bit more?
Well, it's like initially, the consumer price index model has to go up 5% before they're allowed to come
Consumer price
before.
index has to go up 5% before that triggers the.
Triggers that threshold that they can ask for that increase.
Is there any effort to increase the number of people who are participating? Seems like the last thing I saw, there was like that 51% of the people in the county are that are eligible to use this service are using this service. And if they had a higher percentage, then the revenue would be higher and be using the same routes. And people are using other methods, and I don't want to get into the other methods of disposing of garbage, but is there a way to try to increase the number without mandating the number?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, obviously, we send out we advertise, we send out an insert in the newspaper, we have it on the web. I know that Waste Pro has a real interest in trying to obviously increase the number of participants. It's difficult. I think that the schools have a contract out right now. It's probably going to allow us to have some more participation since they're going to be locking their dumpsters. So a lot of that waste does go to the schools. So I think that will impact, or at least, maybe make a few people think that maybe this is a better thing. You want to speak?
Sure. Commissioner Bailey, we would love to have more participation, and I believe Mr. Joyner is going to speak a little bit to that. But what we have is, as we talked before, there'll be 2 people on a road of 7 that subscribe to our service. At the end of the road, there'll be 14 to 18 bags of trash. Well, we know that those 2 households are not doing that, and we still pick it up anyway. So we're losing money every time we make that trip. But I appreciate talking to Commissioner Jones, and she asked me to put this in real dollars instead of percentages, which I learned a lot by doing that, and I think it was a good idea to do that. And you can see that we've gone up since 2010, almost exactly the 8% that we were asking for. And it lays out on each item what it's gone up. If you will look back in 2009, when GDS had the contract, their contract was for $14.70 a month in 2009. We've had these rate increases, fuel costs go up during this time, and we're still at $14.20. Mr. Creighton suggested that we go up to $14.77. That would just go back to what it was in 2009 when diesel was $2.50 or 60 cents a gallon. We bid the contract when the diesel was $2.63 or $2 whatever it was then, and they've had significant increases. I don't know what it's going to do in 2 months or 3 months. If I did, I could buy oil futures, I guess, and make a lot of money. I don't know. But the only thing I can tell you is when this consumer price index kicked in, this is what it is. We cannot come back and ask for another rate increase until it goes up another 5%. So we are stuck with whatever y'all do here for the next however long it is till it goes up. So we are asking for the full 8%. That would only bring us back to the level we were on January the 1st, 2010. It's no more money in our pocket than we had at that time. And in order to make improvements in our service, I've talked before about wanting to look at going to CNG. We have a natural gas line right to our facility, but in order to build a station, in order to fill the trucks, that's $300,000. we've heard that it's $30,000 to retool a truck to go from diesel to CNG, or $285,000 for a new truck that uses CNG. So in order to become more green and more sustainable, because CNG is $1.50 a gallon now, then we have to have a substantial capital outlay, and in order to do that, we have to get our price up a little bit. What we're asking for is $1.14 per household. I know that's 8%. That's not a lot, particularly when many more than the 50% of the people use our service and aren't paying for it. I believe this is Roland Joyner. He's our district manager. Can I yield to him?
Yes, sir. Please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Our current house count right now for this, thus far this year is 23,844 a month. I don't know the current house count for Buncombe County at this time, but I'm thinking that's a little bit less than, we're servicing a little bit less than 50%. Just a reminder, you know, what we did try to negotiate or talk to staff and members to basically lower the rate for the residents down to $13.80, well, 40 cents reduction if we went all in countywide. Our average pounds per home every time we pick up is 48 pounds. The national average is around 39. It depends on what survey you look at. So it's about 10 pounds higher than the national average. So we, as Mr. Christie says, we're having a difficult time identifying, you know, the customers on these roads that they bring it down from the private drives, in which we pay disposal on that, you know, at $47 a ton at the transfer station. So, you know, the expenses that Mr. Christie sent you guys, that's not everything, but that's a big portion of it. And the, you know, the 4% would be greatly appreciated, but the 8% is what we need. Thank you.
Has there been any attempt, when you see a big pile of garbage and you know it's not 2 households but maybe 12 households, what attempt have you made to converse with those folks to try to make sure that the people who are putting the trash there are really...
I actually had some pictures, and I left them at the office, and I apologize for that, but I actually had to go out to a customer today. It was one road. There were 7 mailboxes at the end of the road. We had 2 paying customers on that road. There's 17 bags of trash at the end of that road.
Lord.
And I'll be more than happy to send you guys the pictures. Like I said, I've left them at the office, and I apologize about that. So to go through, and that's just at one location today, on one road. There are a multitude of stops like that, private drives that pull down, bring their trash out to the end of the street. Not to mention animals, varmints, so forth. So.
I was just wondering what contact you might have made with the other people up the road.
We have gone through some, but the time the time that it takes to do that, it's a lot easier to pick it up and go.
Also, are there any portions of the contract that were signed originally that you've had to, I mean, you've followed the contract to the letter of the law?
Yes, ma'am. In this contract, Waste Pro signed it in good faith as well as the county. There was no fuel escalators in. A lot of contracts have fuel escalators in where a certain percentage of the price is fuel. This was signed in good faith because of this clause or this paragraph that states once it gets to 5% CPI, we could come back and ask for an increase, and that's what we're doing today.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move we get the staff's recommendation and award a 4% increase.
Okay, is there a second to Vice Chair Stanley's motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been a motion by Vice Chair Stanley, a second by Commissioner Bailey to approve a 4% increase as per staff recommendation. Is there any discussion?
Can I say before we vote, Chairman Gant, I'm going to vote against this because I do think that this is another burden for our citizens. I hope that there are some things that Waste Pro can do, perhaps to look at who all's bringing trash down and try to make some adjustments there. Make sure that the citizens know the reason for any increase in their pay, what they are charged. So I'm going to vote against the motion.
When would this be effective if it passes?
We would have to send letters to everybody. It would take 2 or 3 months to July 1st.
And Mr. Chairman and the board, if I could point out, this is a franchise, so it would require a second reading on June 19th.
Okay. All right.
So, can I ask a
Yes, please.
legal question?
Yes.
So, because I'm very sympathetic to their conundrum about the trigger, and if this happens, which I tend to think is a pretty good solution for now, but I do feel like we're putting them in an awkward position going forward. So, this isn't what they're requesting, but they actually requested something else. So, is there any gray area for them to be able to come back?
I don't think so.
Is it just going to be
think
5% more than whatever increase we do?
it's not 2 years, but I think I agree with Mr. Christie's interpretation that from this point, say it'd be June 19th, 1477, then we'd have to wait whatever amount of time. That would be another 5% increase. That could be 1 year. That could be 5 years.
Right. Because the contract says, I guess I was just wondering if there was any kind of wiggle room for them about that we really weren't responding to their request. We've kind of making our own suggestion if that would give them any opportunity to, if there was a hardship in the meantime. But
I don't see it from the black and white.
Got it. Well, you'd be the one that would know.
The county is the one that drew the contract. We did sign with it, but the county drew the contract.
Right. Okie doke. Just
Any other
seeing if
questions or
there's some other
comments?
options out there.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion by Vice Chair Stanley to increase the rates for Waste Pro 4%, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
No. The motion passes 3-2. Peterson, Gant against. Thank you.
I think that somebody needs to look at the fuel escalators as a potential in the long
We
term.
would have to amend the contract. But we
Yeah, well, I know that.
That's probably-
But I think that might.
Isn't that what I just asked to do?
Yes, yeah, more
Okay.
or less.
Is that a suggestion or instruction to ask Mr. Frew to enter into a discussion with Mr. Christie and Mr. Joyner about that?
Well, I think we need to see what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like.
And there will be a second reading next week anyway, I believe, right?
Yes, you need to be approved at a second
Okay, well,
reading.
maybe y'all can have a discussion in between. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chris. Thank you, Mr. Jordan. All righty. Let's see here. We got new business, designation of voting delegate for the National Annual Conference.
I would like for us to designate Vice Chair Stanley.
He can't fight it. He stepped out.
He stepped out. He's it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of appointing Vice Chair Stanley as our voting delegate, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion carries 4-0 as Vice Chair Stanley has stepped out. Next up, we have resolution approving the sale of 32 Compton Drive to Eliada Homes, Inc. We have Jim Holland here to talk about that. Do we have Mr. Upright here? Mr. Upright, and who is Executive Director of Eliada Homes, I think is here. And also Gary Roberts, our Department Head of Tax Collection, as well as Chairman of the Eliada Home Board, I believe, is also here. Gentlemen, Mr. Holland.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. In 2009, we operated 3 child care centers, and we operated a commercial kitchen to help supply food for those daycare centers that we operated. on your direction, we investigated the option of engaging in smart partnerships with community members about providing services into the community, and one of those were daycare operations. As a result of that, we entered into a contractual relationship with Irene Wortham to manage and to operate the community child care, and we also now transitioned the child care that was at AB Tech to AB Tech for them to be able to use for their educational purposes and to serve their students and their children of those students and faculty. As a result of those smart partnerships, we were able to increase capacity of children served in daycare. But that left us with a commercial kitchen, which we didn't need any longer to provide those meals. You, at your direction, entered into an agreement with Eliada for them to use a commercial kitchen for their needs, as well as to provide that as an opportunity to serve the community in a greater way, serving at-risk populations, and to use that kitchen to help provide some educational opportunities and some service not only to Eliada but to the community. You approved an option of lease purchase for Eliada. That is now expiring, and they are wishing to exercise their option to purchase. And you have before you a resolution authorizing them to do that. Wanted to ask Mark Upright, who's the president and CEO of Eliada, to come and give you an update over the last 3 years as to what they've done with the commercial kitchen and what their plans are for the future as they move forward if you approve this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. Mr. Upright, good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Chairman and Commissioners. Do you mind some information for you? First of all, I want to thank the Commissioners for allowing us to lease the building in the last 3 years. It really has made a difference for our operation. I think you're all aware back in 2002, we were serving roughly about 200 children, operating budget about $4 million. This year, 2010, we're serving over 600 children, so we tripled in size. Our operating budget's $10 million, and we've refined our services that we're serving the very young in our 5-star child development services. We're the second largest provider of NC Pre-K, a really vital program in our community. And then also our residential, we went to psychiatric residential treatment facilities. So we're serving the highest acuity children in Western North Carolina, and we did that because there were no PRTFs in Western North Carolina, and children would have to go all the way to Charlotte or Raleigh to get services. But we all know that if you want to put a family back together, you have to have that services closer for the families. And then also Eliada Academy, which serves children exclusively from our local community that are having problems in public school, usually because of mental health diagnosis. But the reality is we're able to bring them into the program, help them find their gifts, their strengths, help them with their skills so they can return and be back to public school and be successful. By your move to allow us to lease that building last year, just yesterday we served over 512 meals to students. Last month, over 15,000. Last year, over 187,000 meals were delivered to that kitchen. And because of the size and the scope of that kitchen, we were able to bring more staff on, full-time dietitian, and we were really able to focus on the dietary needs, which is so important for children in their early developmental years, and also with children that are battling mental health and behavioral issues. The dietary, we're finding, plays a huge role in that component. So that simple act of allowing us to lease a kitchen this last year allowed Eliada really to serve our community in a greater manner for more children. So I thank you for that. The reason we want to go ahead and go with our option to purchase the property is a vision that started almost 7 years ago when we were doing strategic planning. And we went to our alumnus and we asked them, you know, what could we do to serve you better? And what many of them told us is that children that have been in long-term foster care or in residential placement and for whatever reason hasn't found permanency, there's a trauma that goes along with it. And oftentimes when these young adults turn 18 and they move on to their next step in life, they don't have that support that's necessary. Now that's not, and I want to be very clear, an indictment of our current foster care or residential system. There's a lot of people, a lot of foster parents work very hard. A lot of people in the system work very, very hard. But there's a reality that when you're a young person, you're 18, and you're walking away from the system, you don't have the support that probably you and I benefit from our parents and our community of people that supported us. And so in knowing that, we looked at the statistics and we found out that so many of the kids that are exiting the foster care system are really having a difficult time. One of the things that you'll see inside the brochure is that 25% of the children leaving foster care are incarcerated within 2 years. 66% of the children exiting foster care have not finished high school or obtained a GED by the age 19. 50% of the kids within 1.5 years of leaving foster care are unemployed. 25% of the homeless are homeless within 4 years. And this one really shocked me. Only 3% of the former foster care children complete college degrees. And that's with the state that really supports these kids. If you go to universities, there are all types of scholarships available to the kids, all types of financial support, but it's the emotional support that they need most. And so our Board of Trustees, in creating our 20-year vision, said we need to do more. And so the vision of the Eliada Trade School, Eliada School for Trade Arts came about. And during the last 3 years, we've went out to different foundations and gathered over $800,000 in funding that we can start the Trade Arts program, and it will reach accreditation at the conclusion of the 2 years. The accreditation will be through the Council of Independent Colleges and Trade Schools, which will allow us to access not only funding that is available for foster kids, but from the Department of Education, Department of Labor, Department of Adult Crime Prevention. Last year, there was over $40 million in transitional funding that was not accessed, that was available, because there wasn't enough accredited programs to go through that process. And we want to thank the different organizations that supported us, as Duke Endowment, Janner Foundation, Sister of Mercy, Eckerd Foundation, Mark's Family Trust, and the Cannon Foundation, who's really made this dream come true. So now on July 1st, our first class is entering. They are 6 young men from 18, 19 years of age. They'll stay in our program for 2 years. We'll do a culinary arts program and also the academic. And at the conclusion of the 2-year period, hopefully we've reached accreditation, so we'll be able to award an associate degree. They'll have experience in the culinary arts. They'll have served in apprenticeships in our local restaurants and resorts. And they'll also have a savings account, because while they're doing this program, they actually get paid. And they sign an agreement that 2/3 stay in a savings and 1/3 they get for their access. So they'll have close to $10,000 when they start off. So what we're hoping to do is create an environment which we help these young people find their gifts, their strengths, help them plan and move ahead, and really change the community for the better. And that's, as I said, we're focusing on those youth in Western North Carolina. But our hope is that we're going to be successful with this, and we're going to be able to show this is a model that can be replicated in other children's homes across the state. And we really can turn the corner on this huge need that we have, because it's such waste of potential and opportunity. Our hope is over the next 10 years we'll serve at least 1,000 children through this program, or young adults. And there's always a factor of 4, because when you work with a young person and you help succeed and help them be successful, you're helping that future spouse and probably children. So in essence, we could actually change the life of over 4,000 people over this next decade. And I want to thank the commissioners for allowing us to lease the property, because that was a huge part of getting the funding. And we also ask that you consider our offer for purchasing the property. Thank you.
Mr. Upright,
Yes.
Will the community kitchen facet of the project continue?
It absolutely will, and actually I think it'll expand. We've been able to go ahead and support different types of catering events for 2 other nonprofits, children welfare agencies, during the last year. And the hope is after the students get through their first phase, they go through what's called a ServSafe program, that's certification, that will actually be able to go out and provide those catering services to other nonprofits at a lower price, and at the same time giving our students the actual opportunity to do that catering business. So we really see that the possibility of expanding the services out to our local community. The other thing that we envision is, as we go along with this, we really would like to start a program for even younger students, 15 to 17-year-olds, before they graduate high school, for those students that are kind of thinking, well, is this the route I want to go in? So the life skills component for those kids that are currently in foster care or residential. So our hope is that we kind of bring a lot more people into the community, from the community, together on this project.
Have you? What's the name of the program with the chefs?
Go Kitchen or
Have
Go
you, have you
Kitchen
been
Ready.
in touch
or
with them, Go Kitchen Ready? Because
Yeah.
I know that was their big holdup, was getting a kitchen,
location.
and then they got with the city schools, and they have a great program going there. Do you coordinate with them?
We
or-
did. Actually, they came up and they looked at our program, and I believe they had 3 different sites that were available, and they chose to go with the city school site with that. But again, we look at their program as possibly being a feeder for our program, because surely there will be children that are in foster care or residential group homes that will go through, start in their program, and this will be a natural feeder into our program.
That's what I was thinking. I think you've got a lot of common ground and
absolutely.
complementary ground. I don't think it's a duplication. I think it's a complementary situation. And I had the pleasure of eating out there, and they were impressive at Randolph Schools where they were, and it was quite a meal. It was maybe not AV Tech. It was great.
Well, we are fortunate because we were able to get a 7-year chef that was an instructor at AV Tech to join our program.
There you
Donna McCrane.
There you go.
So I apologize for taking her, but she's uniquely qualified for working with these young people, and she's very enthusiastic, and we're all very excited about the prospect of this new chapter starting for Eliada.
Well, we love the idea of taking folks at risk or whatever that they have problems going through the regular channels, giving them these skills, because that's where the disconnect, and I think your figures are compelling, that there's a disconnect, and I'm glad your board looking at it and saying, hey, we need to cover this gap, and this is one way we can do it by giving people a way to make money, and we just don't do that enough. So I'm wonderful with this. Eliada is an iconic institution. You've been there. How long, y'all? Y'all been?
107 years this year.
Golly, I know. Every time I go out there, I'm very impressed. So, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Mr. Upright? All
It's
righty.
in order. I move approval of the request.
Second.
It is in order, and we will take a motion from Commissioner Peterson, a second for Vice Chair Stanley, to approve the resolution for the sale of 32 Compton to Eliada Homes, Inc. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The resolution is approved, 5-0. Thank you, and keep up the good work. Next up, we have a resolution accepting grant funds from the NC Department of Environment and Natural Resources for the landfill gas to energy program. Mr. Creighton?
Mr. Chairman, board members, I think several meetings ago I brought up the case where the state, Diener, had called us and said, we've got some extra stimulus money. We've picked out 3 counties to see if there's a possibility if they could use this money, and we were one of the 3 counties. Just to recap, our landfill gas project is about a $4.7 million project. We got a special appropriation from Congressman Schuler's office for $486,000. The state came through and gave us a grant for $1.5 million, and then an interest-free loan for another $1.5 million. And then, like I say, less than 2 months ago, the state called and said, could you use an additional $2 million for basically up to $5 million, of which only $1.5 million of it is an interest-free grant. So naturally, being the good stewards we are, we said so. But,
Yes, sir.
but tonight, we're asking the commissioners if they would allow us to go ahead and have the chairman sign proper documents to go ahead and furnish the information that we have spent, the amount of money, the $4.7 million, and then the state will go ahead and process it, and hopefully they'll give us a check for the amount of money short of what the congressman had given us a special appropriation. Wow. So, I mean, I think it's great. Obviously, this is federal money that's coming back to Buncombe County through the state. And it's very exciting that the state chose us to see if we could use an extra $2 million.
John, what is the net cost to the Buncombe County?
Basically, it's $75,000 a year. That would be the interest-free loan that we have to pay back. It's a 20-year loan, $1.5 million. So of the whole 4.7, that's basically our net county cost. It's $1.5 million over 20 years, or $75,000 a year.
And what is our income from French Broad Electric?
Income from French Broad Electric is about $400,000 a year.
So that covers the 75 pretty thoroughly.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think we better move to approve real quick.
I would second that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good deal. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. Been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Vice Chair Stanley. Is there any discussion? Great project. Had a great opening there. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no.
Let me just say also that if you get wastage at the Commissioner's office, there's a real good article on our bioreactor and the whole thing in the May issue. It's very exciting. It's a great
I
article.
subscribe to that annually.
Yeah, so.
Wastage.
Okay.
It's I run to the mailbox every.
All right. Well, I'll get you a copy in case you missed it. All right. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
So we're taking gas and making energy and making money on it. Who'd have thought?
Who'd have thunk it?
Next up, we have board appointments. Library Board of Trustees, 2 reappointments.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Kim, these are reappointments, Kim McQueen and Nancy Marlowe.
Okay, are there any other nominations? All those in favor of Ms. McQueen and Ms. Marlowe, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Those 2 ladies are reappointed. We have 4 reappointments and 2 vacancies for the County Board of Adjustment, and I think we're just going to, the vacancies, the 2 vacancies are open through July 1st, and I think we're going to interview the 1 current candidate and maybe more before July 1st. We do have 4 reappointments. What's the pleasure of the board on that?
Mr. Chairman, I move we reappoint Peggy Mann, Laurie Camerata, James Wilson, and George Lycan.
All right. Those individuals have been nominated by Vice Chair Stanley. Is there any other? Well, I guess there are no more nominations for reappointment because they're existing there. Any discussion? All those in favor of those reappointments say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Then those 4 individuals are reappointed, and we still have 2 vacancies, and people have until July 1st to apply for those vacancies. We also have current vacancies on the Montreat Board of Adjustment, 1 vacancy from the ETJ. The Montreat Planning and Zoning, 1 vacancy from their ETJ. The Historic Resource Commission, 2 vacancies. And the Asheville Airport Authority, 1 vacancy. That is currently in flux because the General Assembly is considering legislation to change the structure of that, but I think when all the smoke settles, there will be at least 1 vacancy there. Announcements: the next regular board meeting will be held on June 19th, beginning at 4:30, and commission meetings can be seen on BCTV Charter Cable Channel 2, ATT UVerse Channel 99, live on buncombecounty.org during the meeting, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. The official business of the county is concluded, although we do have a closed session, I think. Is that right?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to 143-318-11A4, we'll have 2 economic development matters to discuss and anticipate no action other than direction to carry on.
Okay, well, our official business is closed. Concluded. We will now hold public comment. The time limit for any comment is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you may leave any questions along with your name, address, phone number, or email with the county manager. Board members are not expected to comment on matters during public comment. Comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of the commission and pertain to matters upon which we may act. Any individual speaking during public comment shall address the entire board. Any polling of board members is inappropriate. Persons addressing the commission are expected to observe the decorum of the chamber and be respectful of everyone in the room. Any person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts the sessions will be asked to leave the meeting. The board reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to the commission. We will now take public comment. Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good news there on Eliada home this is something I've been saying for years, and I've worked with Mr. Upright in many cases, and they do a great job. The MCO is better known as the LME, Local Management Entity, Old Blue Ridge. We are now the waiver side of North Carolina here in the western part, and it's going to come obvious that we're going to need more of these kinds of services if all of our kids from out of our county is coming back to our county, which is a great number. And we're going to need more of these services. And it's always easy to find people that will take care of the less needy or cherry picking, that I might say, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way, but you can find organizations that does that and glamour in it. But what I want to say is we are going to have more of these organizations that are going to get to the hardcore kind of kids that really needs services that are not getting it now, but they're getting it out of county. So that's something I want to bring to attention. The other thing is on the Waste Pro. I appreciate you not giving the 8%. Stay with the 4%. What I think you need to do is monitor and put Waste Pro on notice. Every scale truck that goes across the scale is weighted and measured, and there should be a count given every month, a report given of how much is going through our landfill. So there's a documented effort to see that we're getting $47 a ton, and we might be getting better tipping fees, and find out the truth about where this waste is going, because it's no different than saying for a person, you have to pay to pick your garbage up and take it to the landfill. If they're taking it out of county or somewhere else for less fee than what they would put it in our landfill, then I'd say I'm in favor of lowering the 4% down to even 1%, because we don't know actually what the real figures are. Now, if you want to do something else, I brought this up years ago, is monitor the landfill of how many people that is actually going to the landfill. Look at the license plate, and you got plenty of expertise to do that. Find out if they're coming from Madison County or not, and just how many are coming from Madison County and dumping their garbage in Buncombe County landfill. That, I think we need to do some homework here rather than just dishing out money. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am, Kathleen.
Hi there. Kathleen Balow. I'm representing the Mediation Center this evening, and I struggled with where this might have fit into the agenda, and it really wasn't appropriate for the discussion on the 2013 budget because this has to do with the current budget. And so I struggled and thought it might be out of order, and anyway, so still to get on the record here, at least in the public hearing, wanted to ask for your assistance with the situation that we have currently with the Mediation Center. We have expanded now. We used to just be the Mediation Center of Buncombe County. We've now expanded to also serve Henderson, Transylvania, and Polk counties, just for your information. We have merged with those centers. The Mediation Center, again, is not requesting any funds for 2013. That's not the issue here. Rather, we have an outstanding issue with the current 11-12 budget and an unfulfilled commitment made that we believe was made to the Mediation Center on August 28th of 2011. This commitment is related to the Changing Together grant. If you remember, that's the gang violence prevention grant. The Mediation Center provided direct oversight and management, not the fiscal piece, but the oversight and management of that prevention grant for the county and the city and many other partners for several years, meeting all the goals and objectives and compliance matters set forth by the granting sources. During this same time period a year ago, that being May and June when everybody's looking at their budgets, and adoption by the Board of Directors, the Mediation Center prepared, as we have in the last few years, to manage the next year of this multi-year part of our overall budget. Several line items needed increased revenue, including staff office and meeting space, increased insurance coverage, IT contracts for managing the large amount of data that is collected with that grant. At the same time, we needed to apply for additional funding for the program, including United Way and Department of Juvenile Justice monies. We had received approval from these as of June of last year. During the summer months, we became aware of discussions that were taking place that we were not part of without the inclusion of the mediation staff about the oversight and management of this grant. It was concerning, this was concerning and efforts to learn more about these discussions were not fruitful. So in other words, we tried to figure out what, we knew that some stuff was going on about maybe moving the grant away from the mediation center, but we weren't privy to the discussions happening around that. So the board continued on with the development of the budget and putting things in place to move forward into the next grant cycle. It was in August, 2 months into the new grant cycle, when we learned that the county, is that 3 minutes?
It is. Are you aware of, can you continue on with, I think it's fair that, okay.
Can or can she speak for me with my time?
No, why don't you, we'll just be consistent and go ahead if you'll be next, and you kind of pick up where she left. Because I have talked with Kathleen about this, and so I think it's about this year's budget. So
I'm Laura Jeffords. I'm the executive director of the Mediation Center. And so, as Kathleen was saying, in August, 2 months into the new 11-12 grant cycle, we learned that the county was taking the responsibility for the grant, and we were dismissed from coordination of that project. So there was no mismanagement, there was no lack of oversight. We met all our goals and objectives in all the years that we managed this program. And to this day, we still don't understand how the decision was made because we weren't able to be part of that process. So that's okay, and we're going in a different direction now with becoming a regional center. What's not okay is that there's been a hole left in our budget. The action was taken so late in the process that there was no way for us to plan for this. So had it happened in the spring of 2011, we would have, and our board of directors would have had an opportunity to plan our budget and to plan for this big financial change, and we would have made adjustments. Instead, it was made into the new fiscal year. We had to return grant dollars to the United Way and also to the Department of Juvenile Justice. We had been asked by the county several times to, and we and all the other collaborating partners, to look for our own funds to put into this project so that it could continue after the end of the Governor's Crime Commission funding, which we knew would come to an end at some point. So we had to return those funds, and we received a letter from Assistant County Manager Mandy Stone stating that the county didn't require us to return those funds, but in fact the funds that we had were for coordination of the project. And we literally could not carry out those grant activities without being the coordinating agency. So it directly impacted those other grants. We had to return some money. The whole budget of our agency was affected. We have other costs even beyond what we've requested. We have unemployment expenses from employees we had to lay off because of moving the grant back to the county. We rented an additional space that was adjacent to our space. We're in a 3-year lease for that space. So we're going to be paying for that money, for that space for years to come that we would not have rented had we not been coordinating that project. So, and there seems to be a misunderstanding about that. We did, in fact, expand our space. So the amount of time spent by our executive director and our office manager after the grant was moved to the county, that time is still incurred. We had a tremendous investment in closing out this project and tremendous expense associated with it that did not end at the end of our providing service to clients. So we met with Mandy Stone on August the 28th, and our board treasurer and Kathleen were there as well. And Mandy told us at that point that the county would make us whole for this fiscal year. Our losses go beyond this fiscal year, and yet we felt that that was fair because it would give us time to plan for the coming years.
Okay, if you'll, I'll give you another 30 seconds just to kind of wrap it up.
Okay, thank you. So we're not asking for any reimbursements of our direct costs, just for the losses, the fixed cost losses that we've incurred that we don't have any control over. We've not submitted a bill to the county for reimbursement. We have submitted the information. We would be happy to submit a bill. We don't have documentation of the August 28th discussion. We left the meeting with the understanding that the county would take care of the situation, and you have copies of the documents that go along with our request for payment from the county, and I believe those were emailed. Is that correct? So we'll be happy to answer any questions or provide any more information.
Okay. Probably the best thing, County Manager, would you meet and you and Mandy talk with further and get the numbers and
We can. That's what you want to do.
Is that-
Met and have looked at the numbers and have done a written response.
Okay. Okay, what's the pleasure of the board then? Just,
I personally think it's the time for Ms. Stone to maybe explain the situation. Can you do that?
okay.
Chairman and Commissioners, and I'll ask Donna Clark to jump in if she needs to in terms of the history. I got involved with it at the point of the transition. It had been managed by Jeremiah Leroy, who is our contracts and grants manager for the county. I basically was approached and asked to get involved, and at the point there was a decision to make a transition away from the mediation center. I want to be clear that the county has been and remains the fiscal agent for Changing Together. We've never provided the service or the coordination in-house, and we don't do that now. We were advised by all the primary stakeholders and the funder, the Governor's Crime Commission, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the District Attorney's Office, the Police Chief, and the Sheriff, that in order for the grant to continue, the Mediation Center couldn't continue to be the service provider. So the county was simply the conduit for the grant and was informed by the funders and the primary stakeholders that there needed to be a change in the coordinating entity. Prior to this decision, according to the history that Jeremiah Leroy gathered, there was a significant period of time where there were no program activities and they were suspended at the Mediation Center because of some staffing turnovers and vacancies. We weren't involved in any of the changes in funding related to United Way or JCPC, and I, in fact, talked personally to both of them to tell both entities that if the Mediation Center continued to provide support services through this grant, they should continue to fund them, that our decision was simply around the coordination. And again, that wasn't our decision. We were just the conduit for the changes from the funder, the Governor's Crime Commission. We did state we would hold them whole. Absolutely. Jeremiah had repeated conversations with them and asked them to invoice us for what amount they thought would hold them whole, and that totaled $9,000, and we did pay that. I was unaware until they approached the chairman that they continued to have issues with believing we had not paid the full amount. I wrote them a letter summarizing this history on April 9th and again offered to meet with them, sit down face to face, and had not heard from them prior to tonight. Okay. So I'm happy to answer any other questions related to that.
All righty.
I do want to be clear that the coordinator now for the program is RHA, which is the behavioral health provider for all of our jail and court-related mental health, behavioral health services, and that provider was chosen by the sheriff, the chief, the district attorney's office, and the U.S. attorney's office.
Good.
And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
We're certainly willing to sit, meet, and talk again, but we paid the invoices that were submitted to us to hold them whole.
Okay. I would feel comfortable if you would, with the new information, if it's all right with the board, to sit down again and just see what the additional amounts and kind of go through them together and maybe report back to us.
Sure. I offered to do that in the letter I sent to them April 9th, and we're willing to do that at any point.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you. Thank you both. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, you two in the back. I'll have you first, and then me next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Mike Lavoie. I'm a Buncombe County resident. I was just listening to the Waste Pro and put some quick numbers together real quick. And one, you know, you were talking about approving the 4% to give them the possibility for the other 4%. May be beneficial in giving them, I think it would, based on my quick calcs that I did, about a 5% discount on their tipping fee, would take care of that other 4% where actual Buncombe County residents wouldn't have to pay for that. You know, and one thing just to go back, it was a real pain for me, I know, and probably a lot of other residents when we changed from GDS to Waste Pro. It, you know, it caused me about 6 months of heartache probably with every other week not getting my trash picked up. And with bears and whatnot around my house, it was a real pain for me for quite some time. And so I know since then, Waste Pro has been very proactive in coming to my house and taking care of me. It has given me a real good service, and I'm happy with them now. And I would just hate to see something small like this cause Waste Pro to back out on something like this. But maybe with that 5% discount, there could be some green initiatives taken back from Waste Pro, possibly, to say that, hey, we'll give you this 5% discount on your tipping fee at the landfill. In turn, you give us some initiatives for turning over your trucks to maybe some compressed natural gas type initiatives or something. I'm sure there's something out there on green initiatives that we could ask them to do with giving them that extra 4%. But anyway, I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Sure. Good suggestion. Yes, ma'am, Reverend Landis.
I am Reverend Lisa Landis, and I'll tell you, honesty is one of the most important things in my life. And earlier, you were talking about that resolution, and that resolution as written, I'm sorry, but I can't see how it was a mistake, because it wasn't just one word, it was multiple. And I think that you might want to go back and change that her to and a non-sex person, because putting a her in there means that the position is only open to females, and I don't think that it is. The itemized budget, you know, where is the money spent? I've questioned that before multiple times. I would like to see a budget that isn't just a number. Now, last year, there was money spent. So we could say, okay, this is how much money was spent here, not just a number that is drawn out saying this is how much money that this is going to cost. That sends red flags to me, and I'm not a fraud examiner, okay? So when we're talking budgets, I want to see numbers. I don't want to see just a number, this is how much this whole thing's going to cost. I want to see numbers, okay? I think somebody else had asked that a little bit earlier. You know, the grants. I don't know if the same thing happened to you that happened to URTV, but I know URTV lost some grants that went to the county instead of URTV. So, you know, I don't know if this is kind of like a pattern, but I'd like to question that too. Is everybody who's supposed to get grants receiving all of their grants, or are they somehow getting sidelined to the county? You know, I'm questioning, I'm really questioning that. And, you know, social media. When you shut down URTV, you know, you took away my job. You know, you destroyed my business. And that was, you know, my 6th business that I've started. You know, that I've had somebody come along and pull the rug out. And it's like, you know, it's made me a really strong person. And I wouldn't stand up here and talk probably as much as I did if you guys were considerate of the people. But since I don't feel that all of you are really considering all of the people, and it's not just for your paycheck, you know, I wanted to let you know that Glow Lady, G-L-O-L-A-D-Y on YouTube, is seen in 146 countries around the world. And my video, Glow Lady Gets Arrested by Asheville Police, has been viewed in 97 countries around the world. My trial was postponed yesterday. It's supposed to be tomorrow at 9:30, but that's something else that really needs to be redone. You know, the criminal justice system, there is such a waste, you know, in the criminal justice system. I mean, there's lots of things that need to be done, but we can't do them all unless we do them together. And the only way we can do them together is if we communicate and not, I'm only in this for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Landis. Any other public comment tonight? Aaron?
Chairman, fellow commissioners. It's amazing what I've heard tonight. My hat's off to you for accepting the challenge that you have taken, and to the people in the crowd that are wanting to take your position. This position, as I've said, is to serve. And tonight, all the millions and millions and millions of dollars, it's really astounding. But you know what I'm here to talk about, the same as normal. We're facing a problem in South Asheville. Our water is getting contaminated. Contamination is spreading. You know, one thing I want to ask you about is one thing Mr. Creighton mentioned is this grant from NC Diener. All the money that I've heard, I didn't hear anything about any money being set aside for things like the CTS of Asheville groundwater contamination. You know, I've heard so many people talking about how green Asheville is. I can't say this for a fact myself. I've heard it, but from what I understand, one of the breweries that's come to Asheville is on a Brownsville property. They actually have vapor control devices on the property where they're going to be brewing beer and selling around the country. I don't see what kind of incentive that could be for people to come to Asheville to want to build businesses. Our water is contaminated. And it's not just our water, it's all over. But what I'd like to ask you tonight is to be on the agenda, to get on the agenda for the next meeting, where we can come and we can divulge all the information that we have painstakingly gathered over the last 5 years. And if you've not seen it or heard it, it's really kind of mind-blowing to see how much injustice has been done and how much cover-up has been done. And would also like to ask the members of this board to get with federal and state representatives and also other authority figures, Office of the Inspector General, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Criminal Investigative Department out of Raleigh. They're all doing investigations into the mishandling of the CTS site. There was actually a false hazardous incident reported just to get the money to cover up the fact that they were trying to cover up the cover-up. There were 3 different Superfund IDs given to this same site. They filled out a procurement form to get $200,000 to cover up the $30 million development that was built on top of a Superfund site that EPA and the state of North Carolina took off the hazardous inventory list. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Penland. Any other public comment?
We will go into closed session.
Second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Peterson to go in closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're in closed session. Thank you.
Restroom.